Medellin, Colombia, 1974. 24-year-old Pablo Escobar is already a hardened criminal.
In 1974, Medellin, Colombia is known as a hub for smuggling contraband all over North and South America. And Pablo Escobar is 24 years old, and he grew up very poor, so he is always thinking about new ways of muscling his way into businesses and making money.
He has already established himself as a career criminal, is engaged in auto theft and fraud and kidnapping, and he's coming of age at a really important time for Colombia because cocaine has taken off in the United States, and Colombia is a major supplier of that drug.
In the 1970s, in the United States, people find cocaine to be an attractive drug because attractive people are using it. Models, politicians, people on Wall Street. And suddenly, it became the glamour drug of the era, and it was insanely addictive and also highly profitable.
Escobar sees that some smuggling operators are getting a lot of money from cocaine. The problem is Escobar does not know how to make cocaine and who to sell it to.
What Escobar does know is how to muscle in on an operation.
The one thing Pablo Escobar was very good at was violence. And he learned at a very early age in his criminal activities, with violence comes control. He was willing to kill the individuals' families, their friends, abducting and murdering to prove a point in that he is the one that is in control.
He was 100% ruthless. He was capable of going from jovial and friendly to pulling out a gun and opening fire without a moment's remorse.
So he used extreme violence to take over the emerging cocaine producers, small laboratories in the jungle, into a cartel under his control called the Medellin cartel.
Now, Escobar is top dog in charge. He's the one who is bribing the cops, judges, and they're afraid of him.
He knows how to kill. His method was often referred to as plato o plomo, silver or lead. If you did what he wanted you to do, you would be handsomely rewarded for it. And if you didn't do as he wanted, well, someone would plug you full of lead.
The Medellin cartel becomes an incredibly sophisticated organization. It has a network of cocaine labs strewn all over Colombia. They have airplanes, helicopters. They also have an island in the Bahamas that serves as a launch point for shipments of cocaine to the United States.
By the early 1980s, Pablo Escobar is smuggling 15 tons of cocaine into the U.S. every day and pulling in $400 million a week.
He is responsible for 80% of the cocaine that is bought and sold in the United States of America. So he is swimming in cash. We're talking billions of dollars in cash, paper money. It's so much money, they don't know what to do with it.
They buy property. Escobar builds this massive estate, the Hacienda Nápoles. There's an airstrip, there's a soccer field, multiple mansions, a zoo. He was spending $2,500 a month on rubber bands to hold the stacks of money together.
Escobar actually gives millions of dollars away to the poor to help them with healthcare, schools, housing, and he really becomes known somewhat of a local homegrown Robin Hood.
At first, Colombian officials were not going against Pablo Escobar. Many of them were bought off almost immediately, and they liked the money. And Colombia is flooded with Escobar's cocaine money. But unfortunately, with that money came more violence as well, because Escobar by then had his own army who would kill anybody who stood in his way.
According to official records, Pablo Escobar killed over 1,000 police officers, more than 200 judges, politicians, journalists. He blew up an airliner in an attempt to kill a presidential candidate.
Pablo Escobar is also accused of the November 27th bombing of a Colombian jetliner just outside Bogota. That killed all 107 people on board.
And at that point, Pablo Escobar had initiated a war with the Colombian government.
In the United States, the American government has identified the drug trade as a major threat to U.S. national security. And so President Ronald Reagan formally declares the U.S. will engage in a war on drugs.
I am today proposing a massive legislative program aimed at stepping up the battle on these two fronts, in our neighborhoods and our schools.
The U.S. government is putting in hundreds of millions of dollars to support the Colombian effort to break the Medellin cartel.
Under pressure, the Colombian government finally turns up the heat.
By 1990, there is essentially a civil war going on in Colombia between the cartel and the government. The Colombian government, they get some people who are close to him, but they can't get the man himself. He's extremely slippery.
So at this point, the United States Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA, gets involved. They partner up with Search Block, a group of the most elite of Colombia's national police. And Search Block has received from the US this high-tech surveillance that allows them to track Pablo Escobar's phone calls.
On December the 2nd, 1993, the Search Block tracks Pablo Escobar in a two-story house in Los Olivos, Medellin.
What happens next is in dispute, but we do know that within a very short time, news spreads around the world, Escobar has been killed.
Escobar is declared dead at age 44, but his story is far from over. Who killed Pablo Escobar is still debated, but that's not the only mystery he left behind. In 1993, as authorities were closing in on Escobar, he was featured in Forbes magazine's Billionaire issue, writing, "We suspect that Escobar will soon leave this list, perhaps this earth." By that year's end, Escobar was dead. But the questions about what happened to his money live on.
In 1991, the government is so tired of chasing Escobar, so they agree to a really crazy deal that Escobar proposes to them.
Escobar comes up with what he sees as a perfectly reasonable compromise. As long as he's allowed to build his own jail, he promises to stay there, and so Colombia can take credit for having imprisoned him, and amazingly, the Colombian government goes for it.
In June of 1991, Escobar surrendered to Colombian authorities and is subsequently jailed in a lavish prison called La Catedral.
La Catedral is a fortress. This is how Escobar can protect himself not only from the army and the state, but also from the rival drug traffickers.
He is still getting money delivered to him by his associates on the outside. How are they able to get it past the guards? Well, they're doing that by stashing the money in milk cans.
It is rumored that as much as $1 million in cash is stuffed into these milk cans, and using the cover of the mountain morning fog that is surrounding the cathedral. They use this fog as a way to sneak into the prison to bury these milk cans in the ground.
Although being in La Catedral gives Escobar a sense of safety from his rival gangs, it also starts making him paranoid. He starts believing that some of his associates are being disloyal to him, and he has them killed right there in the prison. Of course, this is a bit of a problem because he's got guards outside. According to one report, he burns the bodies and holds a barbecue outside in order to mask the smell.
Colombian authorities could no longer ignore the fact that Escobar was running his business as usual and killing people in La Catedral. The Colombian government makes a decision to move Escobar to a different prison. And as the army approaches, Escobar, of course, finds out about it, and he escapes one night in July of 1992.
Escobar's hurried exit raises a question. What happened to the cash they've supposedly been burying for 13 months?
It is reported that this was not something that Escobar saw coming. So he did not have a whole lot of time to prepare his escape. He gathered up what he could and headed for the hills.
The moment Escobar escapes, it basically is left abandoned. And when it's abandoned, the treasure hunters come with pitchforks, with shovels, with sledgehammers, and they search for money everywhere, but they come out empty-handed.
It seems obvious that there should be milk cans full of cash still on the premises. Why they haven't been found is a real mystery, which leads to the possibility that there's still a whole lot of money out there to be grabbed.